Welcome to the next episode of Scared Shitless, where we talk to regular individuals who have the guts to go after something big or chase their calling. My name is Sarah Simanjist, and I'm your host. Today we have Randy Powell with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on today.
He is a real estate agent in the GTA area.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, Randy wasn't always a real estate agent. Well, you're also a real estate investor, I
Correct.
should say.
Yes.
And I will let you talk to us about your previous life before real estate investing.
Okay.
But I want to preface this conversation with the fact that we really want to talk to people about their obstacles and how they got to their business and what led them there. And I know besides real estate investing, actually, you're a business owner.
Correct.
So we'll touch base on that as well and how you came about that and your success and your obstacles. So talk to us a little bit about who you were before real estate investing and being a real estate agent.
Right. So prior to being a realtor, I was cutting hair. I was a barber, I would say since I was about 15, 16, like in high school. I started off very casually, right? You're helping friends. Someone says they're going out and you're like, hey, let me try to cut it and whatnot. And after college, I did IT, by the way, go figure.
I did not know that.
Right? I did IT. And but I didn't really enjoy it. So after I graduated from college, I just wanted to continue cutting hair. And I landed at a really good shop here locally. And I was there for about 9 or 10 years before I even got into real estate.
Okay.
So life as a barber was something I really identified with. And I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges I had in the transition. It was almost like I'm changing my identity to a certain degree because I actually really like being a barber. I actually like being called the barber. I like being, a member in a community where I walked around and I knew a lot of people, especially young men. And it was something that I actually held dear to me. So the transition into real estate was something from a, title standpoint that I actually had some challenge with.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for letting me know. And I did not know that you went into IT before, and that I guess you didn't
work in it at all.
Yeah.
No. Mm-hmm.
So what is it about the identity of a barber that you were hanging on to, do you think?
Especially in our community,
Right.
The barber is someone that is actually looked up on.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I don't know what it is, but people really value their barber and they value the barbers in the community.
Right.
It's almost like a stepping stone also into manhood.
Okay.
Because, doing it for a long time, I saw people graduated from elementary school,
Gotcha.
right? Or getting their first haircut to elementary school to into college and then into the workforce, right? So this was something that I felt was important to me anyway, right? And I think even now in 2026, I think barbers really now have almost a little bit of this status thing that's going on. 100%. But for me, it was a little bit more deeper than just like superficial. I actually felt, we're important members of the community.
Yeah. And I think when you have that relationship with your clients, especially like you said, from graduating, grade school to, maybe high school and etc., college and etc., then you're like, oh my goodness, like I've known this person. And you probably hear their stories. I'm assuming the barbershop stories.
Exactly.
I'm assuming there's a little bit of fun to it as well when you're.
That's right. Like especially our shop, we were. There's a lot of vibe, a lot of energy. It was like the traditional barbershop where you walk in and we're talking about anything from sports, politics, you name it, and it was always a vibe, music playing, and it was something that you felt good about every day.
I saw a post of yours a while back, and it was, I think, a journal that you had written that you wanted to buy a house and whatnot. And once you now you have achieved that, I'm not sure exactly what were the goals, but essentially you had achieved the goals. So what made you want to achieve those goals? I think there were some of them about like finance. I'm not sure if it was buying a house, but it was basically getting out of a basement apartment that you lived in.
Yeah.
So what led you to want to do that? Because sometimes we're with your friends, like I know people want to advance, but sometimes we don't see a way of doing it, and we're just comfortable, right? So what
Hmm.
made you want to like progress, I guess, in your life and become a business owner? We're going to talk about that a little bit
Right.
later on.
You know what? I didn't come from a lot,
Hmm.
right? I'm always going to say this. I'm never going to say that someone I was poor or hung out or whatever the case may be. I always had good parents. I always had good family members, everything around me, but nothing was given to me,
Hmm.
right? And I started off on my own very young,
Okay.
right? And as you mentioned, I was living in a basement apartment, and I saw the landlord actually, and he had the house rented out to three different units. This is a regular house, and he kind of just chopped it up, rented
Wow.
it out. And I was like, hey man, this is pretty dope. I always admired actually business and people that were in
Mm.
business. I was always the kid that wondering if someone was driving a nice car, what were they doing?
Right.
If someone is doing something, that I thought was, admirable, I want to know how they got there. I
Hmm.
kind of studied people and business from that standpoint. So I always had a lot of aspirations. But from housing, as you mentioned, that goals, I wrote it down from a very young age. I sat down one day and I said, you know what? I just kind of reflected on my life, and I was like, what do I want to accomplish over the next 5 to 10 years? And I did write it down, and buying a house was one of them,
Mm.
which I did accomplish sooner than I actually expected.
That's cool.
Um, but you know what? I've always been just motivated to do well. I I thought of myself as a very kind of ambitious person because I didn't come from a lot,
Hmm.
right? And I always wanted more, and I always wanted more for myself. And I actually really believed in myself. So
That's
I
awesome.
just wanted to live up to who I thought I could be. And I'm still trying to do that right now
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah,
I
right?
think as you achieve certain goals, like what do they say? Like your ceiling becomes your floor.
It's correct.
And so I don't know, sometimes we have the imposter syndrome where we think we haven't accomplished anything because the goal has gotten bigger.
Correct.
But really, if you look back at, where you were before, you're nowhere near
Right.
that.
It's growth and progression. And you have to, like you said, you have to zoom out to
Exactly.
really see how much you've accomplished. Yeah.
I love that analogy, like zoom out, because I'm always focused and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So, when did you realize you wanted to be in real estate in whatever capacity that was?
Okay. So the reality of it was the appreciation of my first home,
Okay.
right? And if you want to talk kind of numbers, within 5 years, I know what I bought my house for,
Okay.
right? And then in 5 years, I saw what homes in my area were
Mm,
selling for. I was like, holy smokes. Like, this is just by making a decision,
right.
right? It was just by purchasing. It wasn't expected to be that. And I was like, you
Right.
know what? Um, what if I can do this again?
Hmm.
And what if I can take a business approach to this and an investment approach to this, right? So I said, you know what? Maybe I want to buy more homes. Maybe I want to see this happen. I want to see it multiply,
Hmm.
right? And that's kind of so that with my landlord and and him having a rental property, me being a tenant, now seeing the growth of my first property,
Hmm.
I'm like, real estate is it, right?
Right.
Real estate is it,
Yes.
and I wanted to just become an investor, not a realtor at first, an
Ah,
investor.
okay.
Hmm.
So, what made you become or want to become a realtor?
It wasn't even that complicated.
Okay.
Have you ever realized that you're going to do something and decided just to buy the tool to do it instead of always having to pay someone to do it?
I can't think of a situation, but I'm sure it has happened before.
All right. So from a guy standpoint, right?
Yeah.
If we know that there's a chance that we're going to do this one job more than once,
Hmm.
right? We say instead of always hiring someone, why don't I just buy the tool that that person's
I
using?
see. I get
Right?
it.
And that was it. I wanted to save money
Hmm.
by because of course there's commissions involved when you buy and sell. So I wanted to have the license, one to save kind of money on the commission side of things, but also to have the access to the properties to be able to just go in, search, analyze, and look at. And so I was just getting my license just as a tool,
I get it.
not necessarily looking at it as a profession.
I see.
Hmm.
And along the way, you made it your profession, or how did that? You now you have the tool.
Right.
You could just use it as a tool rather than actually make it your profession.
That's correct. So when you go to real estate school, at the time was Oria here in Ontario, they kind of just talk to you about the business, right? The business of real estate and being a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And through that period, that's where I was like, okay, maybe I can actually do this. Maybe I should look at this a little bit differently than just as a tool, because of course it can be lucrative,
Right.
right? So then I said, okay, no problem. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Okay, just like that.
Just like that. Maybe I'll give it a shot. But and then almost in that same time, I was feeling that being a barber was a little bit, I reached my ceiling there.
Okay.
Right. And I didn't know if there was any more growth, because other than charging more per haircut, right. And I was busy. I was busy from morning till evening. You can't cut any more in that time. So I knew my ceiling was already there. So I said, you know what? I'm getting this license. There is no ceiling with real estate or being a realtor, right? It's going to be harder because it's not guaranteed. So honestly, I just took a leap of faith.
When did you quit being a barber, or were you doing both at the same time at some point?
Never did both at the same time.
Wow.
Never did both at the same time. It was a cold turkey. I got my license in June. I was registered. I gave the shop maybe about 2 or 3 more months of, I wasn't working as a realtor yet, but I had the license. And I said, you know what? I just gave myself an end date for barbering. And I said,
and that was it.
Okay. That was it.
At the beginning, was it difficult to grow your business as a realtor?
It's still difficult to grow my business as a realtor.
Okay, well, talk to me about that. Like, because a lot of times when people start, what year did you start being a realtor?
2015.
2015. Okay. At the time, just like any business, it's difficult at the beginning, right? Correct. It's difficult along the way and whatnot. But did you ever tell yourself, well, I just want to go back to being a barber. This is too difficult?
Not going back to a barber because I felt I was committed to this journey. Right. However, I had a lot of ups and downs on the real estate side of things. Okay. It was very humbling at first, because you think that, okay, well, my friends are going to use me if they need to. My family is going to use me if they need to. I know a lot of people. This has to be easy. Right? Just put your hands up and say, hey, I sell real estate. And you know what? The sales will come. But honestly, it's not. It was complete opposite. Even the people I knew, I felt like I had to, like, you want almost like begging them, right, to use you. Yeah. Right? You almost had to be like extra nice and tiptoeing on just to kind of get into the conversation of maybe, hey, if you're thinking I can do it. Right. And there's a couple of times in my first year where I did work for some people, and we worked on a property, for example, and it was time to kind of use me, and I was giving them advice, and they kind of just went elsewhere. And they closed the transaction with someone else, right? And I think that in my first year that happened about 4 or 5 times. Wow. Right? And I said, wow, like, this was really eye-opening. I said, maybe this is not it. Okay. I said, this is the realtor side of things is not it. Okay. Right? Right. And then the business side of me kicked back in. Okay. The investor side of me kicked back in. I said, you know what? I don't want to rely on the emotional or just a simple decision of someone else to be able to dictate my income. I get it. Right? So I said, you know what? Let's do what I wanted to do what I started to do in the beginning, which was to invest in real estate. Okay. So at that time, I went back to the original plan. I started buying properties to flip and buying properties to sell back later, looking at deals from a standpoint of, is this a good buy? And how, when can I sell it, and that kind of thing. So that's what kind of led me in the first few years of my career, which is where I met you along that journey as well. You know what? I think a lot of times when I interview guests, we get to the point where it's like, okay, well, I decided to buy real estate and I bought real estate, and then, and then it kind of rolls like second property, third, etc. Yeah. But the how, and that's actually my fault, I never really asked deep down, like, how did you acquire that first, second, because that's what people want to know. Right. It's easy to say, hey, I made a decision and I bought a property, right? Like,
did you raise capital? Did you cut overnight now
Right,
to
right.
to save your money? Like, how did you get that down payment, I guess, is the question.
Okay. So for my first property, which is, very standard way, right? I didn't know anything about borrowing money, OPM. I didn't have the down payment. So I just worked. I just worked for my first year and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was actually in some debt, got myself out of debt, decided to pinch every penny I can. I didn't spend anything. I just
Awesome.
saved and saved and saved. And I was able to have enough for my first down payment, right? Actually, I came up short and I asked my sister to lend me the rest, to be
That's
honest with you.
crazy.
But I bought my first home that way.
Okay.
Okay. So it comes now to buying additional properties. One, I didn't know everything. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know about equity and leveraging at
Mm-hmm.
the time. So I actually sold my first home to buy my second one.
Got it.
Actually, that's a lie. I bought my second investment property because I had enough down payment. The down payment was very small. So I
Okay.
was able to make that deal happen. But then once I wanted to scale from there, I had to sell my first home to buy my third property,
I see.
right? Which is something that I wish I never did,
Right.
right?
Nowadays, yeah.
Right. I didn't know that you can pull equity, keep the property,
Mm-hmm.
and continue to scale that way. It wasn't on in the later years where I was like, you know what? Oh, people are giving out line of credits,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so I got a line of credit. I bought a fourth,
Mm.
right? And then the market exploded. But now I know about equity,
Right.
right? So I honestly just leveraged the growth of each property to continue to buy real estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's through that knowledge.
Yes.
So did you get a course? Did you get a coach, mentor? Like, how did you acquire that knowledge that you could, use the equity and refinance and all of that?
It At first it wasn't through any coach because the first one was I had this line of credit that was there,
Okay.
right? I knew I had access to it. So it was just very straightforward. You know what? I just asked the bank, can I use this to buy a property? All right. I just
You're like,
I just
it's
asked, it's
mine
mine.
to
Can I?
be
Right?
used.
And it was like, yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Right. But when you're thinking big picture now and scaling and that's when I decided I wanted to maybe get into hire a coach, right,
Okay.
or a mentor, right, and that's
Yeah,
where
we
we
met.
met,
Absolutely.
right, and being amongst so many people that were trying to accomplish the same things was probably one of the biggest takeaways from that. And you're learning what everyone is doing, you're learning what the industry is doing,
Hmm.
and that's where I acquired a lot of that knowledge. Where I was like, okay, this is how we do it, and this is how we're gonna push forward. Yeah.
What were you buying? Single family homes, duplexes, 24 units? Like, what were you buying? You're the first, let's say, two to three.
Yeah, exactly that. And I haven't really changed much.
Okay.
It was single family homes at first,
Okay.
right? Because that's just what he knew. That's what I
Yeah.
know. I didn't know anything about multi-res and that kind of thing. And I was buying a lot of pre-construction because I also recognized the growth of
Hmm.
where the market was. So buying 2 or 3 pre-construction properties at a time and waiting 2 to 3 years, then you have multiple growth and hoping to sell them back out after. Fortunately for me, during the time where we met, there was a couple other mentors that were among us that talked about the down market in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and
Mm.
that if they knew better, they would never own any single family residences,
Okay.
right? If it's not a duplex, triplex, or quad or above, they're not buying it, right? Because when the market is rough, these are and the tenant can't pay, right?
Hmm. Yeah, you're
That's
in
a huge risk.
trouble.
You're in trouble, right? So I said, okay, I wanted a buffer, and everything that I owned or purchased after that was either duplex or triplexes. I didn't get into the bigger multi-family residences, not for any reasons, more than maybe just worried about the magnitude of the investment,
Right.
right? I can say that honestly. I wish I did because I understand it now, but
Right.
the market has also changed,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, those type of properties, as much as they're stabilized, like they're well stabilized in the sense that your one tenant doesn't pay, it doesn't really affect your bottom line.
Right.
However, if you have to liquidate them,
That's it.
they're very difficult to liquidate, and we're
That's it.
actually going through that right now.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I saw people trying to sell them and how difficult it was. And guess who's buying multi residents?
Who?
Investors.
Yeah. So we're looking at it from a, math standpoint. It's just the
Right.
numbers, and you want a deal. You always want a deal.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So I always say, you know what? I liked the ease of selling back duplexes and triplexes. The average investor can buy them, and they're more of a reflection of the market growth than anything else,
Right.
right? Where, of course, sixplexes and up are considered commercial properties, and it all is valued based on the cap rate and the amount of revenue that it's generating. So, of course, it's stable, just like you said,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't have the crazy appreciation over time that was you were seeing in the single family and the smaller properties. So I kind of stuck in that zone a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, yeah, I got rid of any single family that I had and just kind of kept it to duplexes and triplexes, and easier for me to manage two tenants. I never necessarily wanted to, get into the business of, dealing with property manager and all that. So it's been nothing crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And other people would say, you know what, you have to get into the multi-resident. Now I know what I know. I
Mm-hmm.
probably would have, right? But of course, the market shifted, so everyone kind of put the pause a little bit, and yeah.
There's pros and cons, honestly, for owning multi-res right now. So I don't. You're fine.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
fine not
yeah,
having
yeah.
them, right? Because you can't access the equity as easily, and in the sense that you can't liquidate them as easily. And if you do want to put a second mortgage or borrow from it, it's really, really difficult. First of all, refinancing at a higher interest rate, so
Mm-hmm.
you're putting yourself at risk. Higher mortgage, can you actually cover it?
Right.
Secondly, a second mortgage right now, the rates are ridiculous. So you're just fine.
Thank you, thank you.
No, that was a good decision.
Yeah,
I want to actually go back a little bit to your transition from being a barber to a realtor.
sure.
Um, I know you're currently married.
Yes.
Were you with your girlfriend or fiance or wife at that time?
No, no.
No.
So
Okay.
decisions were easy.
Okay. Because I a lot of times, like, one of my questions is, we talked about investing in real estate as if we're the only person involved.
Wait.
Okay.
Oh my God. I'm gonna get killed. I just realized when I switched. No, I was. We weren't married then. It was really early in our relationship. We had just gotten together as part of, like, around the same time I transitioned from being a barber to a realtor. Yes,
Okay.
yes. But you know what? I think it was a lot easier for me to make the change because so far I had done well in life at that point,
Right.
right? And so me making these decisions kind of, it came with a lot of trust and, a lot of, comfort to do so. And also being someone that had started being on my own for so long, I wasn't necessarily used to having to consult with anyone
Right.
to make decisions, right? So it wasn't a ruffle. Now married with kids, that's probably a different landscape,
Yes.
right? So I hear you. Yeah.
What's the conversation like? Actually, are you continuing to purchase right now? Or are you kind of just managing what you have in terms of real estate?
I actually acquired a new property this year,
Okay.
right?
Congrats.
And thank you. And I slowed down on the flips, maybe do one or two a year because my focus actually now is back to the realtor side of things,
Right.
right? But right now, I purchased another property this year, another duplex as well that we are working on right now. So, you know what? I can't pass up a good deal when they come because
Right.
once you have the lens, right, and you
Yes.
see something good, then you can't be shy, right?
Right.
Even though the market is really uncertain. Um, but I will continue to buy real estate. Like I won't
Yeah.
stop. Yeah,
I think it's a great time to buy. If anything, it's a buyer's market. So
exactly.
if somebody is liquid enough or has the connections to purchase anything right now, I think it's a
Absolutely.
you have room to negotiate. You can
That's it.
negotiate,
That's
right?
it. That's
I've
it.
I've seen some crazy deals. Like one of my friends, she sold her home, and we're walking through it, like her actual home. She was moving to the States, and she's like, "Yeah, that is staying, that is staying, that is staying," because that's what the buyer negotiated.
Negotiated.
And I'm like, it's just crazy. I'm
Yeah.
like, she's like, I'm basically just leaving everything for
Like
them.
honestly, if you're a buyer right now, you have so much power.
Yeah.
right, that you guys should be taking advantage of. I know you hear everyone saying all the time, just buy, it's a good time to buy it, but no, seriously.
Yeah.
If you're planning to buy,
Right.
if you were always looking to buy and the goal is to buy, then when is a better time than actually right now? Everybody's scared.
Do you think you would have been where you are right now without having had a coach?
Um, that's a good question. I would say the coach helps things happen faster,
Okay.
right? I can see that I may have ended up here anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but it would have taken a lot longer,
I get
right?
it. Yeah.
Coaching, and being around people, it just makes your growth that much more exponential. Yeah,
Okay.
and faster.
I also wanted to talk to you about your businesses, the ones you purchased. Talk to me about your laundromats because I know you purchased two in the past.
Yes.
So why did you make that move and how's that going?
Okay. So let's go back a bit. Remember when I said that I went cold turkey from barbering to real estate? Well, the transition, I did stop and I did continue start as a realtor, but I needed a buffer in the background to generate income in the meantime because I knew that I was going into kind of uncertain territory,
Right.
right? And I looked at businesses that didn't require a lot of time,
Okay.
right? A lot of you know man hours of being in there, and cash at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And laundromat and car washes, always came up. So I said, you know what? Which one of these do I think I can manage and kind of handle? And laundromat, I just said, okay, laundromat,
Okay.
right?
Versus a car wash. What was the difference, for example?
With the car wash, it was usually a bigger purchase because it came with the land and the business.
I
So those
see.
were almost always over $1 million plus, plus, plus.
Okay.
Right. With the laundromat, it was in a leased space. So you can always usually just purchase the business only.
Okay.
So the numbers were less scary
Okay.
again, to purchase the laundromat. And it just seemed like it was an easier decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got the idea of purchasing a business. You looked
Mhm.
into it. You're like, laundromat is the one. Talk to me about how you search for a business, because I know for real estate, it's the MLS. Is there an
Mhm.
MLS for real estate? How do you calculate the numbers? A little bit about that. And what does it take to run a laundromat?
Okay. So full disclosure, I was young,
Okay.
right?
You just
I didn't
had
know
grit.
anything. Research what? You do minimal research. At the time, I was just a big risk taker. Risk taker.
Okay.
That was it, right? I was ready to just try because number one, indecision is sometimes the worst decision,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And I was never afraid to learn, try something because at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be forever, right? So I didn't know much about laundromats, the businesses of laundromats, or whatever the case may be. I saw this magazine that used to get circulated. It's probably still around. It's called the Business Exchange,
Okay.
right? It just had listings. It was like a classified, just like a newspaper. It came around, publication of businesses for sales, restaurants, laundromats, barbershops, salons, the whole, you name it. And so I always saw laundromats. And I said, you know what? Um, what would the decision maker be? Would it be price, right? Would it be location? Like, how do you decide on kind of what it would be? And I mentally anchored on location. So I wanted something. I just wanted it to be busy.
Yes, of
That's
course.
that's it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Like, I always tell people after the fact, right? If you trying to buy a business because either the price is too expensive, right, or the price is cheap, then you're looking at it from the wrong standpoint.
Right.
Because the reason why the price is low to buy a business
Because it's not making a
is
lot.
because it's not making a lot,
Right.
right? And so the only thing I was able to use to measure was actually going to the location and seeing if there's traffic,
Okay.
right? So
That's
I'm
so
there,
cool.
playing secret agent, right? On a weekend, just going to sit down to a laundromat and doing a load and just kind of being there for 2-3 hours, right? Seeing the amount of traffic that's coming in and out. That was the only thing I knew.
But how do you
Very
even measure
practical.
traffic? Like, I feel like Toronto is busy in itself, like wherever you go.
Well, I would imagine that all the machines were running,
I see.
right? All the
Okay.
machines were running, they were being used. There's people coming in and out,
I
other
see.
than it being crickets, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
so I did about 2 or 3, and then kind of one stood out, right? It's like, hey, okay, location is good. People are always in here, no matter what time of the day I came in. It has a lot of machines, and the place looked clean, right? So I said, okay, I think this is the one. I knew that they were what they were asking, because remember, I'm only going to laundromats that were listed, so the
Right.
businesses were listed, so I knew where to go,
Right.
right? Um, and I kind of just reached out to the listing agent, right? Another thing that you shouldn't do,
Okay.
right? Right? To purchase the business, and like again, I knew nothing. They
Wow.
had to walk me through the financing process. By the way, you cannot. I'll look at the audience. You cannot purchase a laundromat by getting regular financing. It's very difficult
Wow.
because it's a cash business,
Right.
right?
You told me that one
Yeah,
time.
it's a cash business, and banks like to see numbers. They like to see the flow of money, and
Right.
it's a little risky. So traditional financing wasn't hard. I was fortunate to get connected with someone who knew this type of business, and they helped me get financing for it. But that's another thing. I just jumped in with 2 feet.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I know too many people who are just ask me a gazillion questions. Sarah, can we get on a Zoom? Sarah, how did you do this? Sarah, I'm like, it doesn't really matter, because you know what? You're going to make your own mistakes.
exactly.
And whatever my experience was, I'm going to give you the high level. But at the same time, you just have to jump at some point.
That's it.
I always say, make your decision with no more than 70% of the information. After this is no more. Obviously, you could do a lot less. But if anything more than that, you're just frozen.
Yep.
You're just looking for an excuse to
You're
not do
knowing
it.
too much. You're knowing too much.
100%, 100%. So you ran those two businesses. You bought two.
Yes, one not right away.
Right.
After I kind of understood the business, I was able to buy another one, which we had. It wasn't the best investment, but we were able to double what we grew the business and sold it for double what we bought it for.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
So you said you can't buy a business with the bank, right?
No, you should from whether it's a business or real estate, like regular real estate.
Right.
Don't go to the listing agent.
Don't go to the list. So how?
Right? Why?
Don't go to the listing agent. But if you want to purchase it, just walk me through, like, what would you do instead?
Okay, contact your own realtor.
Okay.
Right? The listing agent is looking out for the seller.
Yes.
Right? They're gonna tell you, this is a great business. This is a great house. It's beautiful. You should get it, right? And you know what? Just for you, the seller will give you this price. Just for you, right? And that's not the right approach, right? Just get someone that's going to represent you. Look out for your best interest. Yeah.
So now you ran it for how long? Both of them, or each of them, approximately how long?
The first one, the main one, was 9 years, almost 10.
Wow.
The second one, I didn't buy it until maybe like either 6 years after I had the other one, and I only ran that one for maybe about a year and a half, 2 years.
What was your biggest challenge running those businesses, if any?
Remember when I said that you didn't need to be there as much and that it wasn't as time consuming?
Yeah.
That was the biggest challenge.
So it was time consuming.
Yes, absolutely. I realized quickly that my laundromat had about 50 or 60 machines.
Okay.
That's the same as buying 50 or 60 used cars.
Wow. So you're constantly fixing stuff.
Yeah, constantly fixing stuff. There's always going to be something that needs repair. There's always going to be a reason for you to go there. There's always going to be a customer that has a complaint. There's always going to be a reason for something leaking, a flooding, someone's clothes got locked in the machine.
Wow.
Right? And you got to be there. Number one, also, it's a cash business. So the laundromat specifically, the cash circulates from into the machines to the coin changer, into the machines, into the coin changer. And unless you trust someone a lot to, to handle that for you, because it's cash,
Right.
you have to be there yourself.
Right.
So, if I'm away, I can't be away for that long, right?
Mm.
Vacations had to stop and slow down. And, just being at dinner with the family sometimes, hey guys, sorry, I got an emergency call. I have to leave, or we have to hurry up and finish up. Like those kind of things was kind of what affected, I would say for me specifically with that business. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges. And ultimately it was the reason why I ended up selling it as well anyway.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sounds like an Airbnb. Because I'm always like, oh goodness,
Yeah.
somebody else needs something.
That's
And
it.
I'm
That's
not
it.
sure about your business, but like I wasn't making enough to hire somebody else to, take care of the small things,
Right.
right? The big things, obviously, I don't know how to fix, so you're hiring someone. But and one thing is that if you're handy, it kind of makes you spend your time there because you're like,
Bingo.
I'm not gonna go and pay
Bingo.
somebody $200 when I know I could go and do it for $20. I can go to
That's
Home Depot.
exactly it. And back to the tool thing, right?
Mhm.
Buying the tool. When the repair guy would come, you should see me over his shoulder just looking at him.
So what did you
Oh
do?
dear, what'd you do there again? Oh, that green thing? Got it. Yeah. Yeah. And then he would never get called back for that exact same thing. It would have to be a new problem why I would call him. And then after a while, you got to know all the problems. So guess what? Now I become the
Oh
technician.
my goodness.
Right. And that's where it takes up. So it's a
lot.
good and a bad thing.
Yes, and yeah, I think if you're trying to scale, it's not a good thing. But
Mhm.
if you're just trying to just get the cash flow in and make sure to feed your family, then it kind of becomes your job, though.
Exactly.
You can't do anything else.
Exactly.
So now, being a realtor,
Hmm.
talk to me about some of the challenges of being a realtor in this climate.
Right.
Right. Tell us a little bit of what's going on in the climate and what's challenging about being a realtor, and what are the things that are not so challenging right now.
Right. So, sold the laundromat,
Mhm.
right? And the market has changed.
Mhm.
It's not the easy flowing business, investment climate that it was before. I think everyone was making money in real estate
Mhm.
maybe about 5 years ago, right? And now the gravy train has ended. So I decided I wanted to start focusing back in sales, back into using the license, back into helping people buy and sell properties. And the biggest challenge is learning that you are in the business of sales if you want to grow, right? You got to learn how to sell now. And this is, remember, I didn't like it in the beginning,
Right.
selling yourself, trying to convince people to transact and use me.
Services.
And now I would say the biggest challenge is the understanding the business of sales.
Okay.
Not so much being a realtor. Realtor is kind of the title, but what you're doing every day is you're selling.
Okay.
Right. And that's the journey that I'm on right now. And I think it's probably the biggest challenge I've faced yet, but also the most exciting one.
So basically, like, if you have to tell someone, like, why would they use you versus use somebody else? Is that what you mean? The challenge?
Correct. So it's two parts. I would say to sales. There is lead generation, and then there's lead conversion.
Right.
Right. And learning both. Honest to God, they should have courses on each, and they do. Right. But those are the two most important things.
Okay.
Right. And that's the journey that I've been on, learning how to generate leads. And if one of my other coaches always says, you can have the best burgers. You can make the best burgers in the city, right? But if nobody knows
About your
about your
burgers.
burgers, you're gonna starve from a financial standpoint,
Right.
right? So you have to be able to attract customers and clients.
Okay.
That's the part that is challenging, but it's also something that if you're good at it, that's like learning how to fish. You can do it forever,
Right.
right? And then now you can attract people, right? But then how do you convince them I don't even like to use the word convincing, but how do you get them to use your services, right? There's a million, not a million, but there's thousands of other realtors out there,
Yeah.
right? And why choose you? And that's where you have to, being able to, you know, articulate your services and what makes you different from the other person.
Do you find that your family and friends who weren't using you at first, that you felt like you had to sort of convince or beg to use you, are they coming to you more, or have you had to find your own clientele? Yeah, your own clients essentially.
I would say both. So one, I don't even think about that anymore,
Right.
right? I don't think about my friends or family using me. It's not even something I think about anymore. It's
Mm-hmm.
as if they do, they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But what I would say is I find a lot of them now do only because they know that I've been doing this for so long.
Right.
So there's less of that, initial, um, that, oh, he's new or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
case may be, and they've seen my journey, right? So
Right.
from that standpoint, but I don't even think about it anymore,
Okay.
right? I would say again, you got to be able to be transacting with people that you don't know. That's actually to me the true testament of where your business is going,
Mm-hmm.
right? If only your friends and families bought from your burger place, again,
Yeah.
it would have a difficult time making ends meet.
I know you're popular, but you need
You
more people than
need more
that.
people, and it's so funny, because in business, that's almost always the motivation for people to get into business,
Okay.
right? They're popular,
Right.
right? They know a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and they expect that when I open this thing or start this thing, that it's going to be easy,
Mm-hmm.
and almost like it's almost never that.
Yeah, I think the identity thing that you talked about, and I think this has been a common theme with other guests that I've had,
Hmm.
just transitioning from their previous title, previous career, and now to more finance, or whether it be a realtor, a mortgage agent, then people don't see them as that. So they're reluctant to use them. Meanwhile, you're
Hmm.
like, hey, I thought we were friends, but it
Exactly.
has nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm just going to end with a final question here. Excuse me. So you have two kids now,
Yes.
and knowing that basically your whole life, I feel like even as a barber, you're an entrepreneur,
Yes.
right? So what do you want your children to take away from your journey as an entrepreneur? Do you want them to, as much as we don't control their journey,
Right.
but do you feel like you want them to take some of that and do their own thing and be an entrepreneur? Or do you find it too difficult where you're like, okay, you know what? Like I would prefer if you kind of went the 9 to 5, the career, the quote unquote stable job. Like, what do you think you want them to take away from that?
Great question. I would say to me, I don't have a preference. Honestly, I don't. I would actually encourage them to become entrepreneurs,
Okay.
knowing how difficult it is and knowing how much of a risk it is. And the reason why I would say that because of how much growth can come out of it interpersonally,
Mm-hmm.
right? How much you can learn, right? And I do believe in being a the dictator of your
Mm-hmm.
journey and of your path, right? However, if they wanted to, get a 9 to 5 or work in corporate, or the only thing I would say is, whatever you do, make sure you're solving problems, right? And
Mm-hmm.
look at it long term and make sure that whatever you're doing has a utility for the foreseeable future, and that's it.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
I'm sure they're learning a lot by just watching you, because I think kids just absorb their environment without us knowing, hey, daddy doesn't wake up every single morning and, has to drive to work 9 and then come home at a certain time.
Right.
Maybe you have more free time or less free time depending on how they see it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they definitely they don't see they don't they understand what I do a little bit, even how young they are, but they are definitely fortunate enough to know that I have a flexible schedule and dad can always kind of be around, So yeah.
That's awesome. Those are
Hmm.
the benefits, as many obstacles and challenges there are of being an entrepreneur. I think the schedule is one of the more the benefit, right? You can
Yes.
be wherever you want, whenever you want. Some
Right.
Not all the time,
All the
but you know what I
time.
mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, this was a great conversation, and I think people just people who want to transition from one career to the other
Mm-hmm.
and have doubts may be able to relate to your story.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to reach out to you, how can they do so?
Yeah, you can catch me on all the socials, Randy Powell. Instagram is Randy Powell with a little underscore at the end, and I'm always open to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
So for the audience, there you have it, Randy Powell. You can reach out to him if you have any questions. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.